I don't care if you're an intermediate or have never even touched a camera in your life. By the end of this video, you're going to know how to take shots like these ones. In this video, we're going to be shooting this 1992 wide-body Mazda Miata. It's a really cool car, man. We're going to be using different lenses, different cameras, including an iPhone. You don't need crazy gear for this. No joke, you're about to learn everything you need to know to start shooting cars on your own. Oh, yeah. So this, this is our new glow-in-the-dark shift knob. It's super cool, dude. Woo! It's so dirty, man. I really should have washed the car before this, but it's just proof of concept. All right, let's go. I'm here to tell you that gear does and doesn't matter. We'll get into that later. First, we're gonna start shooting with this. This is a Canon 70D with an L series lens on it. It's not really anything fancy, it's what I used to vlog with, but I would be using that right there, what you're seeing through, but unfortunately, I don't have two of those. So we're gonna start shooting with this and I'll show you some shots. So when you're shooting cars, the easiest and safest bet is not to shoot midday. When the sun is right above, it does not look good. It's not great. You want to shoot golden hour, which is basically the first hour of the day when the sun's coming up, the last hour of the day when it's going down. It just gives for the best lighting. And also, you want to park the car where the sun is behind the car, in front of the camera, not behind you, facing the car. I'll show you the difference. Check this out. Remember how I said the gear doesn't matter? We're gonna use a phone with automatic settings. There's no manual settings on this. I'm gonna show you how you can still get good shots just using good photography practices. So now let's take the idea of gear actually being important. With a certain lens, you can only get so much, and especially out of a smartphone, you can only get so much. It doesn't make you a better photographer to have better gear. What it does do is allow you to be more creative and have different ideas. So look at that. Sometimes the shot just doesn't look enough of anything. It doesn't look good enough. It looks really bland. This is where creativity comes in. Let's walk into the desert. That's better. Pro tip, be sure that when you're shooting, you're using different lenses, zooming in, pulling back, doing full shots, close-up shots, wide shots, shooting behind things, through things, above things. The worst thing that you can do is go out for a big shoot, come back home and take a look at all your photos and realize they all look the same and none of them are cool. Let's talk about manual camera settings. Now, it's probably going to be pretty easy just to switch your camera to auto and start shooting. On an iPhone, that might be okay, but for manual photography, especially if you want to take it seriously, man, it's really, really important to know manual settings. So here's the easiest way to understand it. Every single photo in the world needs light. So basically, for a photo to be exposed properly, it needs light to be coming into the camera. Now, there's three main settings that we use so that we can balance these out, and it's a balancing act. If you change one setting, you got to manage the other two settings to make sure that all three are balanced properly. So the first one is the shutter speed, and that's essentially how fast the lens closes to capture the light. We can move this up or down, and of course, the faster you make the lens close, the less light gets in there and the darker the image is. The next setting is the aperture, and that is how much light is let into the lens. So we can close that eye down really tight in the lens so that only a little bit of light gets let in, and that's if it's really bright outside. If we open that way up with a lower f-stop, that's going to let more light in and the image will be brighter at that point. And again, it's all about balancing these back and forth. The last one is going to be our ISO, and that's how sensitive the camera is to the light. So if we raise this number up, that's going to make the image brighter. If we lower it down, it's going to make the image darker. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory in that sense. However, you're going to want to keep your ISO as low as possible because the higher you raise it, it does make your image brighter. However, it also introduces a lot of noise into the image, and noisy images do not look good. So you always want to bring that as low as possible while also managing all three settings. So at this point, you know how all three settings work. It's just a really quick crash course if you do want to learn more on the actual manual camera settings and getting a good exposed image with proper settings so it doesn't look noisy and all that. Of course, that full video is going to be down in the description below. All right, let's move on. Couple more really important tips for you. You want to make sure that before you start shooting that you actually walk around the car, because every car, the body lines are different. This is coming from a designer. Remember, we're designers here. The shape, proportions, balance, feeling, vibe, all of it is different. So what you want to do is just walk around the car, make sure that you know what angles look good, because the same shot will not look good on every car. You want to make sure that you're wearing like some comfy clothes for photographer stance and stuff. What? Weirdo? Oh yeah, and night photography. This is something that I would love to go over. As for beginner course, I'm not sure, man, but what I am going to do is basically create an entire course on lighting, and that's where we'll go over nighttime shots. We'll even walk around it with lights and get some nice ribbon effects all in the cars. That one is gonna be awesome, but that's for another video. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. I know this has been a lot to take in, man. Let's just keep it going, man. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions or you want any help. Our Instagram and email are both linked in the description. Shoot us some photos you guys are taking, man. I wanna see what you come up with. Now let's talk about photo composition. There's a lot that goes into this, but just the basics here, you can usually generally follow something called the rule of thirds. And most cameras have this. Even your iPhone has a predetermined grid, which, imagine this, it breaks the photo up into 3 sections vertically and horizontally. So it's like 9, kind of like tic-tac-toe. And each one of those is 1/3 of the frame, each one of those lines. Where they intersect are the points that you want to focus your main subject on. So let me show you the difference here. So right now, this frame is composed properly to give a pleasing image because I am on the 1/3 line and the Miata's on the other 1/3 line. Watch what happens now. It kind of looks weird, doesn't it? And like I said, there's a lot that goes into composition and the rules are meant to be broken. There's actually a lot in film history as well as photography that is just completely going against these rules. It's a safe way to get a good, pleasing image, but we'll dive deeper into that in our composition episode linked in the description below. So let's talk about a few more pieces of gear that are important. You should definitely invest in a tripod simply because handheld sometimes, especially if you're shooting like low light, you need to bring some of your settings down so much that just you pressing the button is going to shake it too much and it'll be blurry. So a tripod is definitely something just to keep it stable while, you know, the timer and all that. It's great to have definitely a piece of gear that's worth investing in, especially once you have a real camera. And the second part goes along with sort of like the creativity, like different lenses and stuff. Invest in filters and not the like Instagram influencer filter that just like applies predetermined settings to a photo. I mean lens filters. So there are things like polarizers, which totally change the look of reflections in body panels of cars and that kind of thing. It's very, very handy to have. Or something like a glare filter, which would just give the film look to it, kind of take away sort of the edge that digital cameras have. Oh, what a cool car, man.